So far, these NBA playoffs, there have been a lot of players who have risen to the occasion and a lot of players who have fallen to the pressure. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the top players who have fallen under the pressure this season and have disappointed. I think there's no other player to start with this video than Dillon Brooks. He has been one of the biggest villains so far this NBA season, and rightfully so. He has been very annoying to watch, and he has this big ego for really not even being that good. Is Dillon Brooks a bad NBA player? No, I don't think he's a bad NBA player, but he does poke the bear of big NBA stars, and I really just don't think he has that in him, and he has shown it in the playoffs. He has been very inefficient and not very good defensively against the Lakers, and a lot of the defensive load has been put on Jaren Jackson Jr., who is doing a very good job in the playoffs. But another player on the Grizzlies who has been disappointing that no one is really talking about is Ja Morant. He is supposed to be a top 15/top 10 NBA player in the league, and he is not showing that at all this series. I understand he is coming off an injury and didn't play because of that little extent he had, but I mean, really, he has been very underwhelming, and he's been outperformed by Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. in this series. His scoring has been very lacking, and that's what the Grizzlies need to win this series. The series isn't over as of recording this, but the Lakers are up 3-1, and the game is going to start around 2 hours after recording this, so they might already be out of the playoffs. This player is on a very surprising team, but he has not been doing that well, and that is Julius Randle. Julius Randle has been very inefficient, and honestly, he's gotten very, very lucky that the Knicks are winning, and that is because of Jalen Brunson playing out of his mind in the playoffs, and RJ Barrett playing some of the best games of his career in the playoffs, which you honestly just love to see from a young player, especially RJ Barrett. Julius Randle has just not been at this playoffs, and honestly, it was the same story against the Hawks when in the first round he was very disappointing, but the workload has been put a lot on Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett, and they're probably going to end up beating the Cavs. They're up 3-1 right now. I don't want to jinx anything, but they're most likely going to beat them. And speaking of the Cleveland Cavaliers, you could really say every single player on this roster, but I'm mainly going to put it on Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I'm going to put them both in the slot, and this is very, very surprising coming from Donovan Mitchell, who has been known as an amazing playoff performer throughout his times in Utah. But Tom Thibodeau has just been a great coach this series. You can say what you want about Tom Thibodeau as a coach, but this series he has been putting the best matchups on the Cleveland Cavaliers. And honestly, JB Bickerstaff isn't been coaching very well at all this series, and I think that's why the Knicks are taking advantage of that. But Darius Garland has been a lot worse than Donovan Mitchell. Darius Garland has had one good game this series, and he has been super, super inefficient. And this is kind of disappointing to see because in the play-in tournament, Darius Garland was actually very good, but now he's just not doing very well, and he's disappointing for the Cavs. And honestly, you can put Evan Mobley in here too for his lack of scoring and who he needs to be on this team, but again, it's only his second year and this is his first ever playoff stint. And Evan Mobley's playing pretty solid defense. And next spot is Karl Anthony Towns / Anthony Edwards. And the reason why I both want to put them here is they have been so inconsistent. One game, one of them will be really good, and the other game, they'll be really bad. But the thing is, they never have a good game together. And as of recording this, they have been eliminated by the Denver Nuggets. And it is pretty sad what the Timberwolves team did this season, considering how much potential that roster had, and really changing nothing this season. They just felt like the same team from last year, maybe even worse. But I don't want to give them too much slack considering there are a lot of players on this list who have been doing a lot worse than Cat and Anthony Edwards, but I did want to give him an honorable mention because Anthony Edwards was viewed as this person who could go crazy in the playoffs, and Karl Anthony Towns, considering he is a number 1 overall pick, he hasn't really shown me anything crazy in the playoffs. Another player who I don't want to give too much slack to considering they are the upset beating this team, but it is Anthony Davis. Yeah, they are beating the Grizzlies, and his defense has been pretty impactful, but I don't know where his offense game is. I feel like Jaren Jackson Jr. is exposing him a lot in the offensive game. I feel like a lot of teams can use that to their advantage, and if the Grizzlies somehow could make it back in this series, the only vision I see is Anthony Davis just not being able to compete on offense, which is happening this series. Do I think the Lakers are going to lose this series? No, probably not, but if there is some sort of vision of them blowing a 3-1 lead, out of all the 3-1 leads right now that have been held, I would say probably they have the biggest chance of blowing it just because they are the underdog, and Anthony Davis isn't performing. And yeah, Anthony Davis has been disappointing. You can't really deny that. And he has been carried from Roy Hachimura and Austin Reaves playing out of their mind, and LeBron James being LeBron James. A player from the Sacramento Kings who isn't a star player, but is a very good role player, is Kevin Huerter. He has been very good this season, shooting a very high 3-point percentage this season, but he has just not been able to score at all. I don't know what happened to him, but he just isn't scoring the ball like he used to. He's been putting single point games almost every single game this series. And now that it's tied 2-2, this series is definitely more losable for them. Now knowing De'Aaron Fox is injured, they need Kevin Huerter to step up, because Malik Monk has stepped up. Almost everyone on the Kings has stepped up except for Kevin Huerter. But again, I don't want to give him too much slack considering he is a role player. There's not that much pressure on him, but the Kings do want him to perform better like he normally does, obviously. But I feel like he deserves a little mention on this list. Another pair of players who are playing pretty poorly are Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton. The Bucks were supposed to be this huge powerhouse going into the playoffs, which they were. Then Giannis got hurt, but right now they're down 3-1 to the 8th seed. And I'm sorry, but you're not a true 1 seed if you're down 3-1 to an 8 seed, and your star player is only out for 2 games. Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday are all-star caliber players. Jrue Holiday making the all-star game, and I don't know where they've been. I don't know this elite defender, Jrue Holiday. He just hasn't been there. Chris Middleton has been very inefficient. He kind of has been this whole season. Chris Middleton just doesn't look like the player he used to be. And it's really just been the Giannis and Brook Lopez show. I mean, Brook Lopez is playing out of his mind. Some of the best basketball of his career, especially at an old age. This is very impressive. And Giannis just being Giannis. But for this team to be true championship hopefuls, they need these players to do good. And they're down 3-1 to the Miami Heat, which is a very scary sight, knowing what Jimmy Butler can do in the playoffs. And then for my last player, it is Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum has also been very disappointing ever since the All-Star break, really. I mean, this is only a series because Jason Tatum has been very inefficient, not being able to score the ball as well as he should. Jaylen Brown's still been amazing. Marcus Smart also has been a liability, especially in the fourth quarter. But I mean, Jason Tatum is Jason Tatum. He should be a superstar. I mean, he is a superstar, but he should play like a superstar in the playoffs, and especially against a weak Hawks team. I mean, Trae Young has just been going crazy. DeJounte Murray's been doing pretty good. Other than that, the role players like Clint Capella, John Collins has been straight awful. But I mean, we kind of expected this. John Collins has kind of been awful the whole year. But I don't want to go too in on Jason Tatum, considering the fact he has a really bright future and he's only 19 years old. He definitely has a big future ahead of him, considering he's only 19 and he's not even in his 20s yet, which is honestly crazy. He's already been to a finals. But comment down below who you think I missed in this list. I went over a lot of players and I went pretty fast, so sorry if you couldn't keep up, but those are my players who have been very disappointing in the playoffs this season. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I am a small YouTube channel, so any support means a lot, and I'll catch you in the next video.